You know how when you're thinking about something, you're like, you see it everywhere? Like if you bought a blue car, like every car seems like it's blue, right? You buy a Toyota, everyone suddenly has a Toyota. And so I don't know, I was thinking about this idea of watching our mouths and watching how we talk to each other in this new year, new you. And I don't know, I was at a hockey game on Monday night, and with Jake, and we get there about an hour early, so I had some time to kind of do some work, and so I made some calls, went out to the van, which is in like a secluded part of the parking lot, and I thought, hey, it'll be great, nice and quiet, until an entire team, hockey, not my son's team, but another team came to do their warm-ups. And so what they do is they'll bring a soccer ball out there, and they'll kick it around, and they were incredibly loud. And the words that I heard, like I used to work on a shipping dock, so I know, like, right? I know that. It's not you know, and normally it wouldn't really bother me that much, but it was so loud, and it was like every other word, and it wasn't just the words. It was what they were saying to each other. And now I know guys kind of getting ready for the game, they're getting all psyched, and I know that they can say some things to kind of razz each other, right? It's getting everybody excited about it, but man, it was like, I really kind of thought to myself, I would not want to be one of the, because they kept saying this one kid's name over and over again. And the things they were saying to him were horrible, and I thought, I would not want to be that kid, and I would not want to be on that team. It was all that I could do to not jump out of the van and go, hey, watch your mouth. But it was time to go, and the game was about to start, and just getting out of the car, the dad power kicked in, right? Old guy power, everybody, they just were quiet. They all looked at me, they're like, uh-oh, old guy, we better mind our manners here. But I want to say, like, my goal today is not that you get a swear jar out and make sure that you never say another bad word ever. I mean, that's a good thing to do. But there's something worse. There's something deeper that we have to look at. There's more than just watching our mouths. I mean, that's true. We need to do that. Be careful with the words. But the words come from something down in here, in our hearts and in our souls. Like, I don't think anyone curses or says bad things to someone unless it's going on in their heart. Because here's the problem. You could sit here, and if I made it all about cursing, you'd be like, well, I don't curse. So I'm okay. I can go and maybe, read the paper or something. See, but many of us would never curse. And yet maybe the words we say to somebody can be like hypercritical. We make somebody feel about this small. You know what I mean? We write them off. We're mean to them. We judge them. And maybe we don't even say anything, but we're thinking it. And I think in Jesus' book, didn't he say something about, you call a man a fool, you're murdering him in your heart. So he's saying intention means a lot. What you're thinking means a lot. So we have to not only watch our mouths, but watch our hearts. Because, as Paul was talking about last week, we have a new self already. There already is a new you. See, everyone else is saying you gotta diet and exercise, you can do all this other stuff to get the new you, right? To get the more successful year. God's going, look, I dialed that in like way before the new year even started. Ephesians 4, we looked at it last week, and it's really going to be the basis for all 4 weeks of this series. Now, last week, he was talking about us to put aside and to really put off, to get rid of our old self. Right? It's like an old dirty shirt. He's like, why are you wearing that thing? Like, take it off, throw it away already. You know what I'm talking about? Now, maybe you're someone that doesn't throw away clothing, but there's a point where that thing has to get thrown away. I mean, I got stuff that I don't even want to wear it out like doing the lawn because it looks so bad. Like someone's going to come and arrest me because I don't belong on my own property because I look that bad. He says, no, treat it like that. Get rid of it because that belongs to your former manner of life. I'm reading from Ephesians 4:22. It's been corrupted through your deceitful desires. And he says, actually, what you should do is be renewed in the spirit of your minds, that you might put on the new self, created after the likeness of God and in true righteousness and holiness. And everything that we're going to talk about today is built on that and flows from that. It's not about we got to get our act together, right? watch what we say. We have to do all of that, but we do that because we already have this new self that's been created. Look at that, after the likeness of God, and it's all about true righteousness and true holiness. In other words, we're clinging to Jesus. We're clinging to him who gave us life, the one who came down here on Christmas, that we talked about a couple weeks ago, and lived this perfect life and died this amazingly perfect death and has given us a new life. And Paul, that's what he's saying. Now, he was very general, wasn't he? And I don't think he was being vague. I think he was just being very gentle, like general, and blanketing it because it applies to everything in life. Now, as you go to verse 25, he is going to get very, very, very personal and very specific, right? 25, 26, and following, he's going to say, okay, we're going to go from like real big to, all right, something that you do every day. Okay? Do you go through a day, what do you think? Do you ever not talk to somebody? You ever have a day where you never converse with another human being? You never read an email, you never send an email, you never have a text or send a text. Everyone have any of those days where you just don't talk to anybody. Like even when you're really sick, you're talking to somebody. There is some kind of communication. And so that's why Paul picks this, because it's something we all struggle with, something we all deal with, especially in the world we have today. I mean, look at the events happening. If you get into the political thing, you get into the whole Iran thing. You want an example of some really bad speech going on, people accusing and all these other things happening, people being ripped apart and relationships destroyed because of these kinds of things that are said, things that are tweeted, things that are people throw on Instagram, the comments they make in a thread, and it gets really bad. So Paul says, therefore, in verse 25 of Ephesians 4, therefore, in other words, because you have this new self, therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of you, me and you, all of us, speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. So our speech, first of all, should be truthful. Now, again, you might say, well, I never lie. But just because you don't tell a lie doesn't mean that you always give the entire truth. Anybody do that? So we say what we shouldn't say, but then we also often will say things we probably shouldn't say. We misrepresent people, we misread them, and we do all these things. He's saying, look, everything you say should be about the truth when you're dealing with your neighbor. Why? Because we're together in this. In fact, go home and read the rest of chapter 4. What comes before this? It's all about unity. It's all about unity. He's like, God wants you to be together. He wants you all worshiping Jesus. He wants you all following Jesus and living life that way so that everyone gets built up. We're going to skip down to verse 29 because we're going to get to the other ones next week, 26 and 27. But let's look at 29. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. It's an interesting word, a corrupting talk. Talk that's corrosive, right? Talk that when it goes into a situation, it's like a dirty bomb, right? It goes in and it doesn't have a healing effect. It doesn't have a bonding effect, but it has a destructive and corrosive, and it messes things up. It takes what is pure and holy, what God has given to us in relationships and in all those other things, and it introduces poison into the drinking water. Think of it that way. I'm throwing something toxic into something that God meant to be holy and righteous and beautiful. He says, don't let that come out of your mouths. And that's the negative, right? But here's the positive, which I love. This is awesome. He says, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. Now, it's interesting that he uses the word grace, because grace biblically means a love that I don't deserve. So even the person you're talking to, it's not that they even have to deserve this thing you're saying to them. They may not deserve you to tell them the truth about what's going on in their life. They might be doing something they might be going really off the rails, and they need you to come alongside them and say, I love you, I care about you, we got to deal with this. Whatever it is, because it's destroying you. Why are we talking? What are we saying? What is the goal of every word that you say? He's saying you should weigh it. If it's for building up, cool. If it's meant to trash someone and take them down, God is not the one who gave you those words. He is not the one that said, oh yeah, I think you should say that to somebody. I really don't think so. I won't even say, Dad, I just don't think so. He wants us to give grace, to give God's incredible love to those who hear. Think about every conversation you have as an opportunity for you to bring the love of Jesus to the people that you're talking to. As you share him, but also just how you deal with them, how you deal with the adversity, or maybe how you deal with that issue that's happening. You want them to have grace. So what he's saying is your words have this incredible power. Now again, this isn't some like magical thing like it's alakazam, alakazam, and boom, something just going to happen and be better. No, that's not what he's talking about. See, this is one of those, I think we all know what's going on. Proverbs, that was a difficult reading to get through, wasn't it? And I just want to grab one of the passages. I'm going to skip down for the guys upstairs. 21, Proverbs 18:21. He says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. Have you ever noticed that you will be responsible? And it's kind of a funny thing. Like once you say something and once it's out there, there's always going to be a consequence. Always. There's always going to be backlash. And God's saying, wouldn't it be awesome if it was a great result? That somebody said, hey, thanks for telling me that. Thanks for sharing with that. You know what you said the other day was just so cool. Thank you. I needed to hear that. But like if somebody has to run home crying because of something that somebody said, right? Because here's the thing, and we get, even in church, we sometimes get, we get into heated arguments, right? And I'm right, and I'm going to let you all know how right I am, at the expense of of the relationship. I think we got to do a lot more listening than we do speaking. It's something I'm trying to learn, and I need to really deal with, because I think when you read Proverbs, the key to that speaking well is listening. Hearing, what does that person need? Because otherwise, we don't even care what they need. Well, I'm going to tell you the way it is, right? And we go. Jesus nails it, doesn't he? And he in Matthew 12:33-37, he says, look, you will produce fruit. What's going to come out of you is going to be based on who you are, right? Trees, it's an orange tree because you see oranges on it. It's not, you don't have to be a botanist to know, right, that it's an apple tree. I see red apples on it. He says, you're known by your fruit. The tree is, and the human being is. So if in my heart is evil, and if in my heart is hatred and bitterness, that's what's going to come out. But what Jesus says, he's pouring into us love and forgiveness and gratitude and patience, right? The fruit of the Spirit. He is wanting us to do that. In verse 34, he says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So what I want us all to do is this week, look at your heart. How do you see other people? Now, I know we all need me time, right? We all need to be alone. It's good. I think biblically, Jesus went and was alone. But when that's all you want to be, we were watching a show, what was it, Selling the Yukon, I think it was. There's a whole bunch of these on Destination America. So if you don't have a whole bunch of Netflix binging things set up, you can watch some of these. And as we were taking the tree down and doing some stuff, so we had that on. And there's Selling the Yukon. What's the other one? Selling, I don't know. There's a couple different locations. And I was amazed. We probably saw at least 3 of the shows that the one guy said, the main thing for me is I don't want to be around people. I'm telling you, they were all like, the dudes were like, yeah, I want to get as far away. I don't want neighbors. I want everybody. I'm like, yeah, dude, when you're on the floor and you've had a heart attack, you will want neighbors. Like, you know what I mean? If you're in hell, you need help, like your house caught on fire, you need help. They're going to be there. You have neighbors. It's good to be around people. But it's amazing how many people wanted to be as far away from people as possible. There's a problem when I just always want to be away and want nothing to do with folks because, they're everywhere. And God loves them. And they're people for whom he gave his life. And he wants us to remember that. The last passage I want to look at is from James. James gives us so many, in fact, all these texts that we're looking at give us so many great pictures of what it looks like, right? He talks about the horse, how big it is, but it's controlled by a little bit in its mouth, right? That drives the thing. A gigantic boat, a small rudder pilots it. It directs it where it needs to go. And he says, how great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire, he says in verse 5 of James 3. And the tongue is a fire. He says it's a world of unrighteousness. It has potential to really like set people on fire, literally. He's warning us, like it's really hard to tame it. And he says, from that same mouth, verse 10, and actually verse 9, he goes, with it we bless our Lord and Father, but with it we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessings and cursings. My brothers, these things ought not to be so. See, this strikes even deeper, like to who we are. And isn't that what Paul was saying? Isn't that what Jesus was saying? Isn't that what all of them are kind of saying in unison? Remember who you are. Remember that you are his when you speak and his when you interact, his when you comment on Facebook or no matter what you're doing. But say things that build up and that bring grace, that give God's amazing grace to the people who are listening to you, to the people that you're talking to. I do this a lot with premarital counseling because, like with young couples, right? That's a difficult thing. They like to yell at each other and they get into it, right? Even in my office sometimes they'll be like, whoa, hey, calm down. And I tell them, I said, what I want you to do is every word you say, you have the potential to introduce like a beautiful, and create a beautiful atmosphere in your home. You could create the most beautiful place where everybody wants to be and everybody they can't wait to get home. Or by the way you speak, you could create the place where no one wants to go home, where overtime sounds better than being there. See, I don't want that for any of us. I don't think that's God's plan. I think he wants to be the place where our homes and our church and everything is like, this is the place to be, because everywhere else maybe you're going to face brutality and you're going to face difficulty and people carrying you down. But here, among us, whether we're here or whether we're out there, when you meet us, when you talk with us, you're going to get the grace of God in what we say and what we do, how we treat each other, how we talk to each other, how we converse. So I pray that's how we show this new self to the world, by speaking his truth and his love. Amen.